Here we are, Harry. Thank you for joining me today.
That's all right. Thank you for having me.
No, it's been great to finally catch up with you. We've been following each other on social media for a little while. And today's the day we finally get to sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah.
But before we start, I have a little tradition that I do at the beginning of the podcast. If you'd like to join me, I do a 3, 2, 1 and clap, and that's all. And that's the official
clap?
Yeah. So that's the official beginning. It helps sync the audio and the video together.
Okay.
And it's just stuck. So
Yeah.
here we go. 3, 2, 1. There we go. And we're in.
Nice.
So Harry.
Yes.
How are you today? You've travelled down from the other side of Essex.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All the way from Essex. Yeah. Nice little bus journey. Yeah.
Okay.
Good fun. Love the bus.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be here, so it was worth the bus journey.
Nice.
So,
And I hear that you were at an awards ceremony last night.
Yes. I attended the Matchbox Film Awards, which is like a little kind of like a self-done thing that they do in London. It was a 30-second film challenge that came out in, I think, November sort of time. So I entered that, and the awards was last night. So I entered 2 films, and I went with my friend Louis, and both of our films got runner-ups.
Nice.
Which is really cool, actually. And the awards are really cool. They're like a purple, like metal, like Matchbox, because it's the Matchbox Awards.
Yes.
So that's really cool to have that. And then it's got like it says bright spark on it, which I think is just a nice way of saying runner-up.
Yeah. Well, no, the whole bright spark thing is quite a nice theme to have around the awards,
Yes,
isn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
It's that we, it's, I guess it's champion new filmmakers.
Yes,
this
that's
awards
the
ceremony.
idea. It's kind of emerging talent, I think, is the words they used, which is quite nice. I mean, obviously, fresh out of uni as well, it was nice to finally get into something that isn't sitting around boring in retail. So, it was nice to make a film and then enter that competition, and then all the films are really good.
And you said this film 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Tell me more about that. How is a film made? How is a film shown in 30 seconds? That's such a short period of time.
The idea behind it was to kind of get the short film to the extent of literally short film. So I think the brief came out, and I read the brief, and it was make a film surrounding the word comfort, but kind of change what comfort means to you and the person watching, sort of thing. I thought, oh, okay, that's cool, yeah. And then I saw that it has to be 30 seconds and shot in portrait. And I went, oh, no. So I thought of a couple of ideas, and I actually made 2. So I made the first one, which was a girl walking around London, and she's overwhelmed by all the noise and stuff, and then she's comforted by, she puts earphones in, and she's comforted by kind of the music and the silence that her earphones bring. And then by some miracle, the awards got delayed, so the deadline got delayed as well.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, I'll make a second one, because the UK.
So that works nicely for you.
Yeah. I had a couple of other ideas that weren't as possible, and then the deadline got delayed. So I thought to myself, oh, okay, I've got a bit more time to, if I want, make another one. And I thought of, I wanted to explore the idea of, because comfort, a lot of people go with the idea of you're tucked up in bed, you have a nice cup of coffee.
Yes.
It's comforting.
Yeah.
So I wanted to spin that on its head completely. So I went with an idea of a girl at a loved one's grave, which sounds very morbid, because it is. And she's kind of talking to them and saying, "I miss you," sort of thing. And she lays some flowers, and right at the end, it's like a really bleak blue color grade. And right at the end, a hand reaches out and gets placed on her shoulder, and the color grade kind of warms up a little bit, and she kind of has a little bit of a smile. Because the idea behind that is that it doesn't have to be someone. It could either be the person she's talking to from beyond the grave, sort of thing, or it could be someone that she knows coming to comfort her. The idea is that it's up to the audience what they interpret it as. So I think that was kind of the idea I went with, and then I shot it with an actress called Mia, one of my good friends, and it came out really well. So I was like, oh, cool, I put that in as well. So I submitted 2 films to this festival. They're probably like, oh, this guy, bloody hell. And then, it played at the Park Village last night.
So did you get an opportunity to watch all of these films?
So we didn't get to watch all of them were submitted, but of the, I think they said 25, 30 were submitted. I think there were 5 runner-ups and then 3 winners, so 3rd, 2nd and 3rd. So we got to watch all of the runners-ups and the winners, which was really cool.
How did you feel comparing your movies to the winners? What kind of feeling was there?
I think when you see other people's work, it's always eye-opening, because you see other people's style. Because I know I've got a style myself, so watching other people's styles, even my friends' styles, is always such a warm experience, because I think it's beautiful seeing what someone else makes in the eye of a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of film and art in general is that it's so subjective that you could make, in one person's eyes, the worst thing ever, and then someone else would love it. But I think all of these films are really good. And then it was there was a really, really good film. Not that I want to big up other people too much, but he got second place.
Why not? Why not?
Well, this is true. This is very true. And he got second place, and it was, he's literally in uni now currently. And it's just of a girl kind of in bed, and she like slips through the bed, and he was talking about it. He put two single beds together and like, got her to slip through the bed, and I thought that was genius. Such a small little thing, but it was genius.
So there's a lot that you can actually, rather than just going to these award ceremonies and it's all about me,
Yes.
it can actually be about learning.
Yes,
Can't it as well?
Yeah,
you got an opportunity to network with people.
Yes,
something
we did,
like that.
Yeah.
So what would be a big takeaway from last night for you moving forward with your career? You're in the early days of your career. You've done quite a lot in these early days. I see.
Yeah,
there's quite a big back catalogue there to get your career off and running. But yeah, for you, what did you take from being at that award ceremony last night?
I think it's just kind of being surrounded by like-minded individuals is a really kind of nice experience. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that you obviously sitting in a room with all these people that have got the same passion. It kind of reignites your passion a little bit. Admittedly, I've not had much of a passion on the back end of uni. I've come off of uni and I've made these two films, but that's been it. And I've kind of had a couple of failed projects since uni. So that has been a bit of a disheartening sort of thing. But it really kind of re-sparked kind of what I want to do, my love for film, which is really nice. I think my biggest takeaway would be that it would be
it's re-energized you.
Yeah,
nice, good. So you come out of uni. What did you study at uni? What was
film production?
Film production. Yes. And at the end of that, you're not feeling it. You're not. The industry's difficult, isn't it?
Yes.
I guess you come out of uni and you hope that those grades and all that effort can go towards getting you a job.
Yeah.
But the real world industry doesn't necessarily look at what your qualifications are.
Yeah.
So you come out and what's the immediate feeling then? What's the immediate world look like at the end of that?
Fearful. It's terrifying. You leave. Uni's became so comfortable for me where I was surrounded by friends, so I had my really good friends there. I had lecturers that I loved, and it was kind of always it was like a playground sort of thing, that I could make what I want when I wanted. We made stuff as a team, and then we left, all moved back to Essex. And because there was four of us that went to uni together, so we all moved back to Essex together, and we've all kind of gone, there's not much to do here anymore. It feels a bit different coming from a city to then moving back to essentially the countryside. So having that kind of, and then the closest city to here obviously is London, so having to travel into London for film, looking for jobs there. And it was a bit, because we came off the back of, so we made a 15-minute grad film called Eventide. And off the back of that was so exciting, but we'd spent 9-10 months on that continuously until we went to shooting, shot it, edited it, had about 20 different screenings. It felt like all these people watching it. It played at the BFI in London, which was really, really cool. And then come off the back of that.
So that must have been like feeling a massive high then.
Yes, it's the peak.
It's the peak of it.
Hasn't gone back there since.
And so I guess that's the danger of reaching a peak.
Yes.
Is that is the top of that moment.
Yes.
That now you've got to start climbing a new mountain and find a new peak. But this one, the world outside of uni is going to be a hell of a lot bigger.
Yes.
And a bigger challenge to break.
Yeah.
So what's the plan then moving forward?
Well, I mean, currently I'm stuck in a retail job.
No, you're having a moment in a retail job.
Yes,
and I know a filmmaker.
Yeah.
That he's been in the industry. He's in his 50s, and he's been in the film industry for 25 years, working his way up, doing pretty successful in the film industry, making his own stuff. And recently, he's had to start working at Audi on the counter.
Yeah.
He was a film director and he was loving it and it was all going good, and then COVID hit.
Yes.
And the industry has just taken a nosedive.
Yeah.
And so for those lower end filmmakers, the low budget films, it's really not catching back up. Yeah. So as a human being, he needs to pay rent.
Yes.
He needs to pay the bills. He needs to feed his family.
Yeah.
So he's had to put that on pause for a little while to go and work at Audi. But 6 months into being at Audi, he's starting to see some benefits for being there for the filmmaking, which is
Okay.
strange.
Yeah,
Because you're like, how does
yeah.
working in Audi affect being a filmmaker?
Yeah.
But one of the things he said that he noticed is he was in such an echo chamber of the industry that he was forgetting how humans interact.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, you know, when we're filmmaking, when we're pointing the camera at people, we're storytelling about humans.
Yes. Yeah.
And if we don't know how that works,
Yeah.
because we're just wrapped up in the mechanics of filmmaking, the filmmaking suffers for it, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I did. So when I was at uni, I worked a different retail job in a toy gadget shop sort of thing, and that was interesting because you get a very specific type of customer in that sort of shop. So that was always interesting to kind of see that, that's them sort of people. So I wrote a comedy script, like a pilot episode for a series based in eventually the same shop, but I wasn't allowed to say that. There's a couple of things in there that have happened to me in real life. There's a thing with I called it the recurring customer, someone that comes back and no one in the shop likes him, sort of thing. He's always a pain in the bum, trying to talk to and stuff and all of that. And I wrote that for a uni project, and I remember my lecturer going, "Oh, how did you think of all of this?" And I was like, "It's happened.
Yeah.
This is I've lived it. I based the character off of me, had to call it a different name, and I was like, I've all the things you're reading, I did that."
I think all the best stories come from real world experiences.
Yeah.
It's taken me back to Ricky Gervais in The Office.
Yes, yeah.
When he wrote The Office, he wrote that from his experience of working in an office. And that resonated with so many people at that time. You're far too young to remember when that came out. In the early 2000s, that came out. But when it hit, everyone was like, this is what it's like in my office.
Yeah.
This is what it is. It really is like this, and every joke resonated.
Yeah.
And that carried on into the other versions of The Office, and it became this worldwide
phenomenon,
didn't it? The Office, and I really do believe that that's where the best stories come from is the real world, not necessarily the fantasy.
Yeah.
And even the fantasy has real world element. What we're saying,
100%, yeah, definitely,
So I think we need to, whatever our craft is, whether we're filmmakers, whether we're writers, we have to get out and experience the world. We have to go and do these jobs that aren't necessarily the craft to influence the craft. So what job are you doing at the moment then, without saying where?
So I work in a clothes shop, in a shopping centre, and it's a decent job. It's a decent job. I like the people there, and I like the atmosphere tends to be quite nice, and similar to what we've just said. I do see there's always the drama. There's kind of, again, without saying what, in-house in the workplace drama between the co-workers that always happens behind the scenes. That's always interesting to observe until I'm involved in it. Then I'm less happy about it. But if I'm observing, it's always going, I'm literally in the corner going, that could happen. Yeah. And I always feel a bit guilty because if one day I make something like that and an old co-worker goes, that happened to me. And I'm going to go, what? I don't know what you mean. But I guess it's the same as any retail job. And like you said, because you're in the real world, you see the real world stories, and that's always interesting because you get the new kind of perspectives that you as a storyteller wouldn't necessarily have thought of before without living it.
Yes, yeah. When I was at college, I always just one day, 2 years doing a drama course at college, but one day always sticks out for me.
Yeah.
And it was one day where my drama teacher said, "This isn't part of the course, but this is something that I would like you to do. I would like you all to go into coffee shops and sit down and just watch people.
Yeah.
Have your coffee, but watch how other people are interacting with each other. Watch their conversation. Watch the way their body moves, the way their lips moves, the way they smile at each other, the way they frown, and just sit there and just don't be part of it. Just watch the world go by." And that had a massive impact on me doing that, because we don't, do we?
No,
we don't sit back and observe the world. But then that really affected me as an actor as well. And it really, and I guess that resonated into what I'm doing now. I watched and I learned about how much people sit there and listen.
Yeah.
Not necessarily talk.
Yeah.
And you watch the listeners as much as the talkers.
Yeah.
When you do something like that. And you can see a story going on in what's not said.
Yes, definitely, yeah. I think there's always something more profound and beautiful in the unsaid, because it always seems a bit more kind of there's more to tell in the unsaid, because it's a kind of a classic filmmaking rule is that you show, don't tell. So I think there's always that's always the more beautiful thing to watch out for, in the facial expressions and the reactions and sort of thing.
Yeah. I wonder why that is. Why that we get more from showing and not telling.
I think because it lets the audience interpret it how they want, and the audience, we want to have an imagination. We want to think about what could happen. It's why I love and hate cliffhangers. Yeah. I despise a cliffhanger because I'm waiting until the next week, but I love a cliffhanger because I get to think about what could happen, and I invent the story in my head. Yes. And I'm always disappointed the next week when it's
not quite as good as what you came up with. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But I think that's a similar thing. It's the opposite in what a lot of companies nowadays are almost going down the route of tell, don't show.
I feel like a lot of films are actually going in that route as well.
There's a thing with Netflix I thought going on a minute, is that they're encouraging people to do tell, don't show, so their consumers can look at their phone while watching TV, and that hurts.
It does, and that's purely saying they're looking from all of what they're doing as a business model only. Yeah, and I think long term that's going to fail them.
Yes, I think so.
Short term that might work. Short term, that second view TV. Yeah. But long term, human beings aren't going to be interested in that.
Yeah, and I think I don't think we like being told as a population. We don't like being told exactly what we're seeing and what we want to believe. We want to have that kind of moment where we think about what could happen. And I think that's always that's why things always resonate more with the audience in films. Well, I think I always go back to, I want to remember this correctly, but the film Seven, which is obviously it's my favourite film ever. I love that film.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
There's two different versions of the ending. One where they it's in the screenplay. Actually, I've read the screenplay. The one where they explain exactly what's happened, what's in the box, and all of that, why he's done that, and then what happens afterwards. The other version, the one that got that David Fincher wanted to write and then wanted to direct, kind of leaves that kind of mystery about the ending, and it has that kind of sense of but then you kind of know what's happened anyway. But because we're encouraged to think about it from Fincher, so I think that's always them sort of routes are always the better routes to take, because if you walk out the cinema and you're talking about what you've just watched, the director's won.
Yes.
But if you walk out the cinema and you're talking about what you're ordering at Nando's, you failed. And I think that's always something I think is always quite important to kind of think about.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of cinema is failing now. And I don't actually blame the Hollywood failing and taking this nosedive on COVID. Yeah. I think it's this new take on storytelling. Yeah. Because and the way that we consume it over streaming as well. There's so much TV now that I should love. Yeah. There's all this stuff on Disney Plus that I should love, all this Star Wars stuff, but I don't. Yeah. Because it's oversaturated. The storytelling in it is that. Now you've mentioned it. It is that. It's just telling us what we're seeing all the time, telling us what to think. Yeah. There was one new series where I turned it off after the first episode, and it was just political jargon being thrown at you all the time. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want this.
You can always
have entertainment.
Too much of a good thing. And I think Disney definitely. Obviously, if Disney see this, I'd love a job. So. But
that's going to. I'm going to put a pin in that. I want a job. Okay. But Gundon, continue. There's too much of a good thing.
With Disney, they are so set on getting so much out to the consumers to feed them as much as possible, bring them into the cinema, buff up the box office numbers. You've got Marvel releasing, although they've kind of slowed down a bit now, but they had Marvel releasing 30 films a year, it felt like, and then another 25 TV shows, and they're very much slowed down. But in doing so, Disney have then turned around and gone, oh, hang on, nostalgia's a thing. Yeah. Let's bring back Downey Jr., let's bring back Chris Evans from Deadpool. And I think that's another thing in the cinema at the minute. To me, it feels like cinema relies on nostalgia at the minute. When you had successes like No Way Home, you bring back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. I'm going to eat that up.
Yeah, it was great. It was great for a moment. It was great for a moment.
Yes.
But we don't want that continuously for 10 years. No. Or it doesn't mean anything.
And it just feels like they're rehashing and redoing everything. We've got Beetlejuice 2, we've got Top Gun 2, both brilliant films. But I want to consume original stuff. I don't want to have
I think everyone does.
But although saying that, you've got the Robbie Williams biopic that came out, Better Man, looks really, really good. I've not seen it yet, annoyingly, but I want to see it. Failed in the box office.
Yeah.
But it's an original film. It's a biopic of obviously Williams, but it's heartbreaking when you actually have original films released into cinema. People go, it's not the next Marvel film, so I'm not interested. And I think that's quite hard, because as an aspiring filmmaker, what happens if I make a feature film one day that's original and nobody wants to go see it because it's someone they've never heard of and it's a film
and that's definitely what's happening in the States. They're like, who? Robbie Williams? Don't you mean Robin Williams?
Yeah.
That's literally what they're doing, and then they don't get it. They're like, who is this guy?
Why is he a monkey?
Why is he a monkey? And it's too confusing. But yeah, I also haven't seen it. I do think it's something about the time of year that they've released it.
Yes.
Releasing a film in January just after Christmas isn't really a time when we go out and spend money, because most of us haven't got the money.
Yes.
Most of us have been busy doing things over Christmas.
Yeah.
And January is that kind of catch up month that we have.
The rest month
that we regret spending all the money. So I don't think that we historically ever go to the cinema in January.
No, I can't. Yeah,
so I almost feel like it was set up to fail.
Yeah, a little bit, to be fair. Now you've mentioned that, yeah.
Because I would go and see it, but I can't afford to, right?
Yeah, no,
and I do,
wrong,
and like you said, you do want to see it. So
Yeah.
what's the reason for you not seeing it, honestly, right now?
Well, not being able to afford it is one
January.
thing, but also, January is I've got so much. I've got obviously working stuff. Ironically, I work next to a cinema, but
Yeah,
I mean,
but surely these people that make these films know this.
Yes.
And I'm not saying don't put out a movie at all in January.
Yeah.
Just don't put out the massive box office movies, the movies that could do well.
And when you've got massive studios that oversee all of this, they know, they've worked out and crunched the numbers. They know when a film works, how to market it. And they've marketed it pretty well, but then to release it in January, like you said, is a doomed project, because who's going out in January? Sort of thing. So I think, you are spot on there.
And I think the big players like the Disney, and I know you want to be careful because you'd like to. Hey, we'd all like to work for Disney one day.
True, yeah.
We do, that's the dream. Work for Disney, Marvel, Warner Brothers, and all of that. But they are massive enterprises that their main concern first is money.
Yes. Yeah.
They will be thinking first off, not what the art is going to make, what the consumer wants. They just simply are thinking about money. And I think they're strategically positioning films, like I say, to fail and to win.
Yeah.
And so, they wouldn't put that Better Man out in the middle of summer to compete with a big budget Disney, a big budget Marvel, because it's just simply taking money away from there. Yes. So they would rather stick it on the back end of January.
Yeah, no, you're rare.
And I'm seeing this with a lot of creatives, and I'm hearing this from a lot of creatives. This thing about speaking up to the big guy.
Yes.
Is a concern for people that want to work in the industry. They don't want to speak about the potential future employer because of the damage. So I don't want to put you on the spot, and I understand that. But it does trouble me.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It does trouble me because as creatives, first and foremost, we should be seeking freedom.
Yes. Yeah.
And we shouldn't be seeking to be in this place of I can't do my thing or I can't say my opinion because I want a job. Yeah. That's not a future I want to see, and it's not actually a future, it's right now.
I think that translates to a lot of things. I think in the same way, if you're on a film set and you've got the director saying he's an arrogant, not a very nice person, and he's got all of that, I think you have more of a right nowadays than you would have done however long ago to go up to someone, the producer, someone, and say, look, I'm uncomfortable, I'm unhappy with this set. And it's the same, I think, in retail. I think 20 years ago, I know my parents would have never, ever spoke up to their manager, even if they would disrespect them in any sort of way. But now, I think there's less of a taboo on that sort of speaking up to the higher up person. I think now I'd be more comfortable to say, look, you're not making me feel very happy, as I have done before in the past. I think in the same way in film, and I think it is a lot more easier to speak up to people now. But as you said, how do you then, if you do that, you're risking them going, oh, see you later.
Yeah, or not even hello.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm seeing this mainly with actors.
Yeah.
When I'm doing this podcast with people, I like people to be open and to share, and I think that's what the audience wants as well. but I'm seeing that actors are holding off
Yeah.
from speaking their mind because they're so fearful of it will affect a future job.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, at this point in my life, for me personally, I don't want that future job with that person that thinks differently to me anyway.
Yeah.
I want to create the stuff that I want to create without their rules and constrictions and without their agenda.
Yeah.
Because there's clearly an agenda going on by some of these big players. So I will speak up against them, and I hope that others do as well. And even if it takes time for people to find that, I hope that especially creatives that we can find a way to speak our mind and to create the stuff that we want to create and not stick to their rules.
Yeah.
Because I'm also seeing too many movies that come out like a format. So you'll have an action sequence at the beginning, followed by 3 minutes of dialogue, followed by 6 minutes of action, and you can almost map out.
You can figure out.
You can map out a movie. And we spoke about, you mentioned No Way Home and how that was a great movie. But if you sit back and assess it, it has beats.
Yeah, you do notice a lot more on the rewatch.
Yeah, and I watch it on a rewatch, and I'm like, I'm not enjoying this on a rewatch.
I left the cinema on probably the biggest high I've ever had. I love Andrew Garfield. He's like my Spider-Man.
And Tobey Maguire's mine.
Obviously,
so it crosses the generations.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got Tom Holland there. So my son and my daughter are loving that. So all three generations can come together in one movie.
And when I left the cinema buzzing, I'm pretty sure I was eating food still like smiling. How happy I felt during it.
It was one of my greatest cinema moments.
Actually, it really was. Them walking up the portals and stuff.
I think there was also COVID had effect on that.
Yes,
it was
just ended.
COVID had kind of stopped, and you could sit next to people again. There was no restrictions on like every other seat all of a sudden. So it was one of the first packed cinemas I'd been into in almost a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that moment where they step through the portal, where Andrew Garfield jumps through, and everyone goes, yeah!
We had our cinema was like clapping and stuff. I sat next to my friend Louis, who's so against the idea of people clapping in the cinema. He was like this. He was just sat so deadpan trying to concentrate. Everyone's like, yeah! And I'm like, yeah! Like I said, I loved that film so much, and I went back to uni because that came out end of Christmas, didn't it? Sort of time, a couple of years ago. So I went back to uni, like, so buzzing about it, and I spoke to one of my lecturers, Riyadh, and he was all over me. He said, "No, you have to go back, rewatch it." He hated that film. I think he gave it like 0.5 star out of 5. He despised it, which fair enough. Like I said, each their own sort of thing. But he helped me kind of annoyingly because I loved the film, but he helped me nitpick little things. And I went back and rewatched it and went, it's still good. Maybe I'll take it down from a 5 out of 5 to like a 4.
Yes, yeah.
And no,
I completely agree with what you're saying here. So, when I watched it on that first watch, 5 stars, I was so buzzing. And I think that film did it so well. It really did the nostalgia thing.
Yes.
Nostalgia peaked at that moment.
It did, yes.
But then, if you watch it as a film, as a piece of just entertainment, you take away the nostalgia, you go, actually, it's not a 5-star film. It's a 2-star film.
Yes, yeah.
And really, a 5-star film stays a 5-star film.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life. And that's happening with all movies now.
Yes, definitely.
Not all movies, but the majority of movies, the majority of Marvel, majority of Disney, the majority of mainstream films. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the reality because they're doing a formula.
Yeah. I don't remember the last time. I think the last time I gave a film 5 stars in the cinema, Oppenheimer. But because I think Nolan has it.
See, I missed Oppenheimer.
Have you not seen it yet?
I've not seen it yet. No. I'm waiting for that. You know, when there's a big film like that, you need to sit down and watch it properly, don't you?
Yes.
You need to, the curtains need to be closed, the surround sound needs to be on,
100%,
and
no one interrupts.
No one interrupts.
3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So isn't having that window is important. But I will I will definitely be watching it this year. No, I chose to go and watch Barbie instead.
We did the classic because we went. It was 3 of us and then 3 girls as well. And we all went to Oppenheimer The girls went to like a brunch thing. We went to see Oppenheimer in IMAX in London. So we've got massive screen of stuff, huge in the middle of London, and then we went to go see Barbie afterwards. And we all said we should have seen Oppenheimer afterwards. Because it's such a different vibe that it's kind of you're taken out of it. And Barbie obviously is a great film as well. I was surprised at how much I actually ended up liking.
So was I. Was I.
And it was, but it's such a different kind of you're like a snut. What am I going to say? A sharp like right turn in the vibes of the film. And the cinema screening as well. We went to the Odeon in Camden. And it was people walking in like full pink and stuff, and like people were like laughing the whole way through, and I'm like, I want to go back and watch Oppenheimer. This is awful. But the film was good.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing that happened there. That what did we call it?
Barbenheimer. Yeah,
that was an interesting moment for cinema, a new marketing, and they've tried it a couple of times since, and it hasn't really had the same effect. I wonder why those two films worked like that.
I mean, the name Christopher Nolan has a sense of, it's going to be, it's one to watch. He's got the Odyssey coming out in however long. So you hear his name, you hear a film, you're going to be there for that. And then you've got Barbie, which is such a beloved brand worldwide for however long. Margot Robbie as well, obviously that's a seller.
Yes.
Ryan Gosling, big seller. Will Ferrell. You got nothing to lose from either of them. Two massive films releasing on the same day. It was bound to have some sort of marketing.
What they did is, rather than create competition, which they'd done in the past with the films, they've gone, let's collaborate. Let's try and bring these polar opposites together. And it really did work.
I mean, you had lots of people going to see both on opening day.
Yes, yeah.
Loads. Well, we did that, so loads and loads of people. But I think they tried it again recently with Wicked and Gladiator.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It didn't work, did it?
It didn't catch on at all.
Yeah.
I think when you have that once in a lifetime kind of thing that you kind of want to catch on, if it doesn't catch on, stop trying. Because at that point, it becomes kind of embarrassing when they've tried it 3 or 4 times since. It's an obvious ploy. It's worked so well once. Why need to do it again to diminish how good it was the first time?
And it's kind of diminishing the value of those individual films as well.
Yes,
by doing marketing stunts and repeating them. I haven't seen The Gladiator 2.
Nor have I.
But what was interesting, actually, when I saw Wicked, I went out to the toilet afterwards, and I'm in the toilet, and I'm hearing 2 guys outside speaking about how bad Gladiator was.
Yeah.
And they were like, how could Ridley Scott do this?
Yeah.
How could he do that to Gladiator and do it again and just destroy it?
Yeah.
What is wrong with the guy? And that was the conversation. I was like, right, I won't watch that then anytime soon. I will watch it at some point, but I'm not drawn to it.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Gladiator quite late. I only watched Gladiator for the first time a couple of years ago. Astounding, blown away. A week after I watched it, they announced Gladiator 2. I was like, oh, yes. And then I thought about it straight after going, I had that celebration of, a new Gladiator, cool. But again, it comes down to, and I thought about it, I thought, why do a sequel?
Well, not every film needs a sequel. That was
ended so well.
It was just a story about this guy's life in that moment and time, and it had a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, exactly. It was a perfect story.
We don't need a follow-on story of what happened in that world afterwards, because we know the world continued on because it's a historical as well.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful film of that time, and couldn't they just make another Gladiator film about another set of gladiators and people?
Yeah, rather than the same characters and stuff.
Rather than rehashing the same characters.
It's a sad story. I don't know how much you know about on set, but the DOP's talked quite harshly on Ridley Scott.
Right.
And he's lost his flair sort of thing. He was so intricate and delicate with the first Gladiator. And the second one, all he wanted to do was rush it. And he went the whole way through just rushing it and kind of speeding it along.
I wonder why that is. Well, I wonder what happens.
I imagine he was rushed by the execs. That's the sort that, to me, that sounds like he was sped along. He was under a lot of pressure from the execs, but also one way, did he really want to come back to Gladiator? I mean, did he really want to come and revisit it, or was the money and the opportunity just too?
Because it is a bit, because we love these movies, but it is a business.
Yeah.
But I think the business side of things is what's killing it.
Yeah.
Is what's destroying it, and the money's going down.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So they need to look at this quick.
Yeah.
You know, they need to re-strategize. They need to pivot. They need to make some changes because no one's working in this industry right now. You know, like I say, you know, even the people that don't work for Disney and Marvel and are independent filmmakers are struggling with work.
Yeah.
Because the whole industry is failing.
It is.
And the new generation are turning to their phones.
Yes.
They're turning to TikTok for their entertainment.
Yeah. That's, although the competition I went to last night, I loved it. I genuinely loved it. I was off put by the idea of it being for social media. So filming in portrait mode. I on purposely filmed it twice. So I filmed it like a normal film and then I filmed it portrait. The 16:9 just is better every time because how can you not watch it on a screen like that? Why make it?
Well, they're trying
small?
to feed to the consumer.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's great because it means I can post it on TikTok and hopefully get a few views at some point.
Yes, yeah.
But you lose half the screen by doing that. You lose so much of the context that you can have.
Yeah,
but you have to cut out. And
someone recently said, a famous director, but I forget who, but basically the message was that you watch a film on your phone, you have not watched the film.
No.
You have not watched the film.
No.
You have not experienced the film and you're missing out.
Yeah.
And so my son's 19 and my daughter's 16 and they keep watching movies on TikTok. And so they're seeing 3 minutes of a film and scrolling to something else and then they'll catch up with another 3 minutes of it. I'm like, you haven't watched it.
No.
Don't tell me you've seen that film if you've watched it in 3 minute intervals.
The issue is it's so easy to get sucked into it.
It is,
and especially I'm a sucker for something playing in the top and then a random game underneath.
Oh, see, I'm watching both. I don't get that at all. I know that a lot of people do get that, but I don't get that. So tell me, why do you think that works for consuming?
It stimulates the brain in an annoying way. I'm looking at. I've got a choice of two things at the same time. I've got this clip from a film, and I've got some guy playing Subway Surfers.
Yeah.
And I'm enthralled by both. Or if not that, it's like they do like Reddit stories and stuff with the same kind of like Minecraft stuff. It's playing on the thing, but then the story or the film is playing like above it or over the top of it. And I kind of just can't. I can't actually explain to. I just can't stop watching. I actually the other day.
Do you think it's like an addiction type thing?
Yes.
Do you think it's like they've figured out and tuned into our attention span?
Yes.
Like some people say our attention span is getting worse.
Yeah.
But maybe it's always been like this, but they've figured out how to train media to really grab you.
I mean, the thing with TikTok is if you haven't got your attention, if you haven't got the audience attention within, I think it's like 1.5 seconds, they'll scroll off. And I didn't think about that until I am scrolling through TikTok for an annoying amount of hours a day.
Yeah.
And I'm scrolling through and I realised I've not given the video above a chance. It could have been quite good and I've just scrolled through because it wasn't good enough in that first second.
Well, with what I'm doing with social media and doing the podcast thing, I am convinced that long form entertainment will return.
Yes.
I am convinced that this is only a moment because I don't see that we are getting anything out of it other than quick hits of dopamine.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think from my experience with addictions and dopamine that has always been short term.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think more and more people are going to start moving over to long form content again.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I continue to put out stuff that isn't clickbait. I can continue to put out my posts that aren't attention grabbing within the first 3 seconds on purpose for I'm doing it for the future. That there's content there for the future and for the ones that don't want that. Yeah. You know, for the ones that don't want that.
There's a big thing with instant gratification, I think they call it. And I think that's similar to the thing where there's a lot of us that are so addicted to that dopamine and that like excitement that we demand to have it instantly and we don't want to wait for it. People that don't want to grind and graft for the job they want because they want to just have it there and then. And I'm guilty of that.
I think we all are.
I've definitely lacked motivation because I've come out of university and I haven't had a job land on my lap. I haven't. And I think that's put me off a little bit in that, I did 3 years of uni, what was it 4 sort of thing. You have to get out of that mindset because then you can go back to the grafting and the grinding and you can kind of keep going in that way. You've got to kind of get your mind away from the whole dopamine addiction and the instant gratification. Because once you're out of that, I'm saying this as if I'm not still in that, but once you're out of that, you should be in a position where you're able to sit down, take your time, go slow, and kind of work for what you want and get it in the end, rather than hope it just appears out of nowhere, which obviously hardly ever happens unless you're incredibly lucky.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen, and I don't even know if luck even happens.
Yeah.
I think that comes to the right people. Was there another water over there?
There
by
is,
the way?
yes. Do you want
Could you grab it for me? Because I was talking for 16 hours at the weekend, and my throat is. I'm surprised I'm doing this today, actually, because it's my voice is strained. Yeah. I can hear it. I can hear it like kind of.
Oh, it sounds fine. I think you're right.
Yeah, the whole social media game is a tough thing.
Yes,
it's there. It clearly hits something that we all want.
Yeah. I mean that's where everyone is. When we did our final project at uni, and we made a 15-minute film, and one of the things we had to do for the course was make a social media life for this film. So we had to make an Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, Facebook, a website, all of that, because that's where people are. And I did, at some points there where you think, oh, but you didn't need to do this 20 years ago, sort of thing. But I think it's a ridiculous amount of the population are looking at their phones every day, where if you don't post online, if you don't put out, if we put a film on YouTube and that was it, or put it into film festivals and that was it, but we didn't post anything about it online, we'd get nothing. We'd get no views. We'd get no kind of satisfaction from the audiences, because they wouldn't know it exists. Because it's not sort of thing we can put on the side of a London bus.
The world has changed.
Yes.
The world has evolved, and I think with whatever you create, you have to change with that.
Yeah.
And be part of the new medias. And there's probably going to be in fact, there definitely is going to be new media forms come out within the next 5 years.
Yes, definitely.
That we'll have to move into a space that I'm actually quite interested and keen to move into. Actually, is Meta.
Yeah.
The VR world.
Yeah. Scares me a little bit. Can't lie.
Yeah.
It terrifies me.
But I've heard that throughout my life. Whenever any new technology comes
Yes.
along, at the point that I'm at 40 now. Every time when the internet came along, the fear that was behind that this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
It literally was that the world won't continue. And now AI is coming along, and that's the end of the world, and Meta's the end of the world. And I think it's just all an evolution.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting, the idea of VR. Just as long as we don't end up like the characters in WALL-E. That's my big fear from it. Not that I'd be around to see that, but if we end up having to clean up the planet with little robots and stuff, because we've all become
Ready Player One, where no one else is bothered with the real world apart from what's going on in the VR world. It wouldn't be nice to see that, because we know what people would be missing out on.
I am especially scared of AI. Because of how powerful it is. And the videos I see now of people that can create videos with AI, and they're so realistic.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
It's terrifying.
But this is what I think is going to move people into that long form content, that real content, the people wanting to consume podcasts, the people wanting to consume good quality, new, fresh movies.
Yeah.
Because now we're moving into a space where fakeness can be created so easily. Yeah. And people are going to be like, but I want realness.
Yes, you want that kind of raw.
And we want to connect with people.
Yes.
Because connection with people is important. And I promise you, no matter how good AI looks, you will know as a human being that's not a human being.
Yeah.
And so going back into Meta, one of the things I'm foreseeing is that, could you imagine a space where me and you did this, but we're the other side of the world from each other? Me speaking to someone in Australia, but yet we're conversing like a real conversation that's happening instantaneously. I think that could be quite exciting. I also think it could be quite exciting for an audience to potentially, an audience could be in this room with us now. And be a fly on the wall to it.
It's a fine line between doing that and then you start being able to go to the cinema from your house. You start being able to do all the sorts of stuff like that.
And then you're missing out on the connection completely.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think exciting, and I think definitely interesting, the whole meta and VR thing. But at what point does it take away? What point does it kind of overlap with real life, and then you start losing kind of elements of real life? Because instead of going out to the park with your mate, you're both sat in your beds, VRing with each other. That's the sort of thing that I'd be like,
And I guess this is why storytelling is important.
Yes.
That stories like Ready Player One is there. What was the other one that you mentioned? WALL-E.
WALL-E, yes.
WALL-E. It's important that WALL-E's there so that we can say, look, if you do go too far into this future, this is what it will look like.
Yeah.
If you don't keep the connection with people, this is how it will be.
Especially with
and it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah. The whole AI thing as well. I mean, that's just, even with WALL-E, they touch on the whole AI thing, and that was 15 years ago or so now. So I think that's always been a thing that's been very much up and coming. But I mean, we at uni, we were all sat in the library once, me and my friends, and we tested AI because it fascinates me, but I hate it. But it does fascinate me. And I said,
I think we're all quite fascinated by it, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, this is we're not at that point yet, but it's the potential for us as human beings creating a life.
Yes, yeah, that isn't a human being.
That isn't a human.
Yeah,
that's a turning point for us.
Yeah,
that's godlike.
Yeah, well, yeah. To be fair, yeah.
You know, that is just
so like God complexes. Yeah,
yeah. Do we even want to go there?
Yeah, exactly. That's what scares me. Because at what point do you go too far?
Yeah.
But I'm not too worried. The whole thing about AI in the industry at the minute is it's going to take a lot of the jobs in film. A writer's job is especially up for grabs from AI.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the obvious one. Write me a story.
Yeah, I tried it. When I first saw about ChatGPT, I went on there and I was like, I've got this idea for a story. Yeah. Write me the first chapter. Bang. Done. But what I realised from that is I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I played with it.
Yeah.
It produced it for me.
Yeah.
And I could go out there into the world and put a book on Amazon and say, I wrote this.
Yeah.
But I would know I didn't.
Yeah.
And even if it made a couple of pounds, I'd still be like, what was the point?
Yeah, what have you done?
It's hollow.
You've not deserved that.
It's a hollow achievement. And so instantly, within half an hour of playing with it, I was like, no, this didn't come from me. And I've done my own writing, and I know how good that feels.
Yeah.
To write your own thing and for other people to see it is amazing.
I think we can link it back to the instant gratification thing, in that AI is such a cheapskate thing to do, that if you're struggling with a page of a script, instead of spending a week thinking about it, crafting it, executing it like you want to do, in 2 minutes you go to ChatGPT and you go, I'll do this. This is what I've got so far. Do another page for me. And it would pick up what you mean and just do it. And then you can put it in, move on. Sure, fun, easy. But like you said, what have you done to deserve that? Say an exec then buys that script. That script gets made. Your script's on the films. That scene comes on. It's the worst scene in the whole film, and you know why. Because it's not you. I think that's why I don't like AI, and that yes, it can do the job. Yes, it can write a script, but it's not got that. It can never have that kind of raw, grounded human emotion that comes from us. And I think that is what is so special about creatives in the industry, is that we are obviously unique in every single way, but we have them kind of emotions and our own kind of life and experience and stuff that builds these stories. No matter what you're doing in the industry, you're having a story. Either you're telling a story or you're helping make a story. But if it's not your story, what's the point in telling it? I think that's what bothers me with AI. Yeah,
and I like to see AI as a tool.
Yes, yeah.
It isn't a replacement of us.
Yeah.
I think this is where we could do AI okay, is if we don't try to replace humans and we don't try to replace humans. We could replace humans in some tasks like working in shops.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could find a way for humans to exist without us having to work in retail, would that necessarily be a bad thing?
No.
Without humans having to drive cars, would that be a bad thing? Would that potentially, could you imagine all the transport moving around with no accidents because it's fully automated and working together in sync, and No one has a car crash anymore because there's no human error. So AI could take over something like that and leave this world for a place for us to be our best and do what humans were possibly meant to do. That could be quite exciting. And I guess the way that we could do that is for it to just be a tool, not a replacement.
I mean, I'll be honest, I have used it before in films. I think one of the main things I use it for is I suck at log lines. I suck a lot. I know the film.
What's a log line?
So obviously you got a synopsis, but a log line would be like, but essentially a smaller version of that.
Yes, yeah.
Or like 1 or 2 lines that would go at the kind of top of your film, kind of like to sum it up, sort of thing.
Yeah. And to draw people in.
Yeah. I could know the story like the back of my hand. I could have written the script 10,000 times. I could have made the film at this point. To think of those 4 or 5 words to have as a log line, or even shorter. I am notoriously terrible at it. I will sit there for hours and go, I can't sum up my own story in 5 minutes. I have on occasion used ChatGPT and it's gone, boom, done it. And I've gone,
You've used it as a tool.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any shame to be had in that. I use AI as a tool with my podcast. So I'm doing this. I feel like this is a skill that I have to be able to sit here and have a conversation.
Yep.
And that's fine. But a skill that I don't have is I'm dyslexic. So I'm terrible with writing. Yep. Well, part of this doing a podcast, I need to write a description.
Yeah.
Now, if I sat down, I've done over 300 episodes of this now. If I sat down and did the description on every episode, it would take me 3 times as long and I wouldn't be 300 episodes in.
Yeah.
And I may have even given up now because of that.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
But what I do is I go into ChatGPT and I say, we've had a conversation about this, me and this other person, and this is the episode number and this is the title. Can you give me a description that will help viewers understand what this video is about? And can you give me some hashtags? And can you give me some relevant links and maybe a quote that's relevant? And I'll stick that in the description. And it's done.
Yeah.
And then I can move on with the things that I'm good at and that I want to do.
Yeah.
So I've used it as a tool.
Yeah.
And I don't have any shame in that, saying that I didn't write the description because that's not what this is actually all about. The description just helps the audience find me.
Yeah.
So, we can use AI as something to support us. It doesn't have to take over the world. It doesn't have to turn into the T-1000 eventually. You know, it doesn't. We don't have to go to that place.
Yeah. Well, I hope not.
But then I guess who's in charge of that?
Exactly.
Elon Musk.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. Yeah.
And at the moment, that's looking the way. You know, who do we allow to set the boundaries for it?
Yeah, I think it to me it depends on how much it affects the film industry. When you've got, like you said, if it affects industries like transportation and stuff, I mean, you've got people out of a job at that point. But as long as they hope to find a new job and stuff, that's maybe a better idea. But coming into the film industry, does it put any of us out of a job? Would it? At some point, would execs become so greedy they don't need to pay writers, which at Disney, they're notoriously known for not doing in the first place? Why not just scrap the writers off entirely, just make it on AI, fix it up a little bit, jobs are good. That terrifies me. That's especially up and coming now as a filmmaker.
But that's where the industry will fail because we will see it. We know.
Yeah.
You can't fool humans. Every time we haven't been fooled so far. Every time we've seen something fake, there might be 1 or 2 of us that goes, "Oh, is that real?" But the majority of us know and know in time. And with entertainment and creativity, I don't think you can fake that.
Yeah.
I don't think AI will be able to get to that point that it can be better than us at writing, at making films. So I think they're going to try it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're going to do the business thing of trying to save money.
Yeah.
But I think long term we will come back to it. Yeah. And maybe this whole I can't even speak. I said I was good at this talking thing, or I knew what I was doing here all of a sudden, and then I can't even speak. AI.
Yeah.
With the introduction of AI, that maybe we can find a place where we work side by side with it. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, and that maybe we have to change society up a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe that this whole thing of we work for money, we work for income, and the whole world is a capitalist society. Maybe that's coming to an end because of AI.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have to work in shops, if we don't have to work driving cars, and we don't have to do that kind of thing anymore, what do humans do with their time?
Exactly, yeah.
Does that just push us into the virtual reality world? Or does that give us opportunity to create stuff or explore?
It depends on what kind of person you are beforehand. I don't think it would change who you are there and then, but I think if you're already a creative person that's stuck in a retail job and that job gets taken away, I would have more time to make stuff.
But what about for the next generation?
Yes, I mean, that's a very good point. I think, again...
What about the next generation that weren't necessarily brought in, that don't understand this, consumerist capitalist society that we're currently in? The next generation don't get that. They've got AI there to support them.
Yeah.
What could it look like for them?
Tough and very strange, I think, to us. But I think it's inevitable that it's going to be a much more used thing in the future. It just depends on how much personality the future generation has. Do they still have a personality like we do? Or are they more shaped by the artificial intelligence kind of side of things? With that, because I mean, you got kids nowadays with personalities that are formed from YouTube.
Yes.
Completely formed from YouTube and TikTok and stuff. And there's kids walking around saying words that I'm 22 and I don't understand half the words. That I sound so old saying that.
Yeah.
But I can't remember where I was, but I had someone say the word skibbity to me. And I just looked at them and thought, what are you saying? What are you saying to me right now? And that's what the kids are watching on TV.
But that's a culture thing, and that has happened. That has happened before.
Yeah.
That every generation that comes along and comes up, they kind of go, we don't want to be like those grown-ups.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they form their own language. There was this thing back in my day. It was Bulakashar and like Ali G. There was this whole Ali G music, and there was this way of talking that everyone. I'm not going to do the impression, but there was this like way of talking that all the young people were doing. Yeah. And all the grown-ups were like, "What are you doing? This is rubbish." And but it was like a language between that age. Yeah. And I think culture has always done that. The internet is just informing this next generation, maybe a bit quicker with that culture trend, but it has kind of always been there.
That's quite a normal thing, I think, for the parents never understand what their kids are talking about. That's clearly a part-time thing. So I know my grandparents would do that for my dad and my mum, but then I think they do it to me, or I do it to them, because I don't understand what they're talking about because I wasn't there, and they don't understand what I'm talking about because they just don't care.
Well, because it gets harder. It gets harder when you get older to look back and go, it gets confusing because you've had this time of it being a certain way, and then you look at this younger generation coming up and you're like, what? Yeah. What the hell is going on? Yeah. Because then they've got all these facial expressions that the kids do, and they do all this. About all this. It's just a secret language at the end of the day. Is what they're trying to keep their group to themselves without the older generation and inflicting on it.
To circle it back, that's exactly why social media is profiting off of films on TikTok and stuff like that, because people are posting clips to TikTok and they're making money off of someone else's film because you've got people that don't want to sit down and watch a DVD, don't want to turn on Netflix at this point. They're on TikTok, it's come up, they're engrossed by it. The other day, this is quite embarrassing actually, I had a scene from a film that was a portrait shot film, horrible acting, like Hollyoaks level acting, which obviously is great acting in case I ever get a job in Hollyoaks. But atrocious kind of everything. It was shot horribly, it was shot in portrait, and all of that was just absolutely rubbish. But I watched this 5-minute clip and I thought, and it was a link to an app. And I thought, I don't know what this is. So I clicked it. Thousands and thousands of films, all shot in portrait for TikTok. I thought, they're making like short films. It was a 2-hour film. A 2-hour film with a complete storyline. It was a rubbish storyline, but it was complete. And I went on Google, searched it up, found the film, and sat in my bed watching a 2-hour film on TikTok. No, it wasn't on TikTok, on my phone. Yeah. Because I was so engrossed in this drama that I watched, I had to watch the whole thing. I finished it and went, it's 2 hours of my life, I'm not getting back. But I was so snatched in from this little TikTok video that I had to then finish what I'd started watching.
It takes us to an interesting place of who is making the money then from the stuff that's created now.
Yeah.
Especially for those independent filmmakers, because a lot of those things are independent films that would have made, you know, if we go back 10, 15 years ago, that they would have made a little bit of money with DVD sales.
Yeah.
They would have made a little bit of money if it went straight to TV movie.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't have a space.
No.
Because if it goes on Amazon or Netflix, I think if you put an independent film on Amazon, the last quote I heard on Money was they get 1p per hour streamed of your movie. So someone has to watch an hour of the movie. They, as the filmmakers, they get a penny for an hour watched.
Could you just stick it on repeat?
And so then most films are 90 minutes, so they watch the whole movie.
Yeah.
They're getting 1.5p per person that's watched it.
Yeah, that is rough.
And so is that sustainable for filmmakers?
I mean, we looked at, because the film we'd finished uni with, Eventide, we looked at kind of seeing if we could get it on like Amazon and stuff. It's not as easy as we thought it was going to be, definitely not. And then we looked, it doesn't make any sense to have it on stuff like that. But I mean, potentially we could have contacted them and got it on, but it's a 15-minute film.
Yeah.
A, who's going to watch it? B, what is the point of, other than going, my film's on Amazon, which is cool, but if you've asked to have it put on, it doesn't really mean as much.
No.
Whereas if you go to the film festivals and you do a really good job in the festivals, so obviously Eventide's doing a film festival run at the minute, successful there, you might get picked up by someone similar to that. And then there's a lot more, I think, gratitude in that if you've been noticed rather than asking to have something on Amazon. Because I think, but again, is it worth having it on Amazon?
No.
Not really.
It's kind of weighing up this bigger life questions like, is this about the destination or is this about the journey?
Yeah.
Like if it's about the destination, just go and post it on Amazon and let them pay you a penny per hour of your movie streamed. Like if that's all you want is that badge to say my movie's on there, go and do that. But if you want to live a quality life of filmmaking and you want real world achievements, then you have to take the long route, don't you?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So what does the future look like for you then? What is the dream moving forward? We could go anywhere.
I think the UK is... I don't know why I went so high then.
The UK?
The UK. It's very up and coming in the film industry at the minute. I mean, you've got films that are from America being shot over in UK because you've got Pinewood and you've got all the other studios that are kind of up. You've got the new Sky Studios.
There's a lot of land being built in the being purchased in the UK for studios, isn't there?
There's a lot of desire for it to increase the UK's kind of film world. So I'm not one of those filmmakers in the UK that's going, I'm moving to LA, I'm moving to New York, I'm moving to Hollywood, whatever. I don't believe you have to do that to succeed. Don't get you wrong. I would love to go to Hollywood. I'd love to work there because I imagine it's relatively easy to break in a little bit more. But
it's not.
I'm sure. I'm sure it's probably not. No, but I think
just because the studios are there doesn't mean the opportunities necessarily are. And I've seen that for a long time actually. That Hollywood is secretly in the UK.
Yeah,
it's the majority of movies are being made here because the tax breaks are some of the best in the world. Yeah, they get 50% of their tax, and this has been away for about the last 20 years. You make a movie in this country, you get 50% of your tax back. Yeah, and that's massive compared to anywhere else. Yeah, and so that's why they're building them here. That they're keeping that massive tax break for them, and all the stuff's coming here, and they use Hollywood as like a label, as a shiny dream to move towards. Yeah, but the reality is, the opportunity I believe is here. Yeah, if things continue in the same way.
I hope so. Yeah, but I mean, going back to your question, I mean, the ideal route for me would be a writer. I'd love to be a writer. I love directing as well, but writing is where kind of the main passion for me is. So to start with, I'd like to find somewhere like a writer's room or an assistant writer in like a soap opera or a TV show or anything like that. Get going on that and then build more of a name for myself, be more of a solo writer, And then I'd love to write TV and film and stuff. I've always kind of had my childhood dream is to write at least one episode of Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
That is my childhood dream from when I was a kid. I've always said, because I used to write stories, I used to sit in my grand's kitchen and I'd just write on a piece of A4 stories that were horrific. I've read them back recently, actually. They're horrific. But it's always nice to see where you started.
Yeah.
And it was one of my first ones was a Doctor Who story. And I read that and thought, this is actually... like 8-year-old me.
Maybe there's a seed of an idea in there.
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe
that tiny little thing.
Tiny little thing.
Them.
Yeah, maybe you didn't, as an 8-year-old, you don't necessarily know the techniques to tell a story.
Exactly, yeah.
But you know what an idea is.
Yeah.
And so maybe there is something there for you to pursue. So a writer is really what you... And so what's stopping you from being a writer right now? What's stopping you from writing Doctor Who right now?
Well, the BBC would be no motivation. Motivation. I'm lacking motivation. I typically use the excuse I've got a lot going on right now. I say it to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I actually don't.
No,
I don't. I work a part-time job. I do 25 hours a week at this place. I come home, I sleep. On my days off, I'm in bed until midday, which I know I shouldn't be. And I lack that kind of motivation to get out and do the thing I want to do. So I'm breaking out of that this year. That is the goal. I'm setting myself a challenge, actually, in the coming weeks. I'm doing a 5-week 5-film challenge. So I'm going to, over 5 weeks, each week make 5 films. No, one film a week.
Are you setting this for yourself, or is this something that's structured?
So I'm setting this for myself. I've written it all out, and each film will have a different brief and like a theme and stuff and a challenge. But I'm getting other people to design them. So they're essentially setting me the challenge, and I get 7 days to make the film, write it, plan it, shoot it, edit it in a week, 5 times, because it's going to be tough, and I'm going to probably hate myself by the end of week 1. But I think at the end of it, I'll come up with 5 films, and I'll go, look, I've gone through that stress and that pressure. That's an extra 5 films for the back catalogue. Now I carry on. Now I don't stop. I could do this challenge once every 6 months if I need to kind of buff up what I'm doing. And that's kind of how I'm kind of betting on myself to get out of the lack of motivation era I'm in, especially coming out of uni. Uni was very stressful towards the end. Making Eventide was very stressful, albeit a fantastic experience. But it killed the motivation I had. I came out of uni and I made a film straight away called Stay. And there was technical issues on the set that we didn't realise till we were in post. By the time post rolled around, people had started leaving, so I couldn't gather the crew back. We'd shot in a different frame rate to which we'd sound recorded. Through no fault of anyone's own. It was my fault. I should have checked. So I don't hold blame for any of the crew or anything, but it's such an annoying little issue that is near enough impossible to solve in post without kind of frame by frame fixing that sound. And I ended up, and I almost wish I hadn't, but I've still got it, so I could do it one day, but I ended up scrapping the film and going, I walked away and I thought, I'm done. And I look back and I go, it's quite sad. I paid quite a bit of money to make that film, insurance, the kit. I got to use an Arri Alexa from the uni to make this film. My DOP, Alfie, did a really good job. He was DOP of Eventide as well, so he, good job after good job after good job. And this film fell apart, and all the crew that have worked on this got nothing to show for it, including me, including the actors. And that killed my motivation completely. I thought, if that's failed, what now? Came back to Essex, living with my parents, working the retail job, killed it completely. And then in November, I made those 2 30-second films, and that reignited it a little bit. Then it faded over Christmas. It was Christmas. I had a lot of food, so all my motivation was out the window.
Yes.
and then this competition came, or the events came around last night, and that's kind of really sparked everything up for me. I want to write more. I was on my way home at 12:30 last night, eating 2 triple cheeseburgers from McDonald's, thinking, yes, I'm going to go home and write. I didn't. I went home and slept. But I want to write more. I want to do more. I want to set myself challenges that get me out of the mindset of being stuck in one place. Because
it sounds like you know that challenges is your thing.
Yes.
Having a challenge there, something to work towards, something to accomplish, is what you need to move you forward. So that's really good that you're already kind of planning that. I'm wondering if there's anything extra you can do to help with these ideas to pursue them forward. Like you say, like last night you were going to go home and write, but you went to sleep. That's good that you went to sleep when you needed to. But maybe as a writer, I know one writer that he carries around a notepad and pen with him everywhere.
Yeah.
Like a little tiny square little book. It's in
Yeah.
his pocket. And when ideas come to him, so when he's like on the bus, he just starts writing down.
Yeah.
And so he's got a little bit of accomplishment moving towards
Yeah.
the next thing always happening. So when you have those little moments where you're like, oh, I didn't stay up last night, it's okay. I still wrote a little page of notes of my story.
I mean, similar, I do the same. I do it on my phone. So I write. I've even bought myself a notebook. When I set a whole desk up when I moved home, bought a notebook and a pen. I can't read my own handwriting.
No.
Not at all. So it's a silly idea to own a notebook. The poor thing has sat there gathering dust, and I thought, I will use you. I don't. I write it all on my phone, and I have like a whole notes kind of folder of film ideas, 90% of which I've never done anything with.
Yeah, and that's okay.
But it's always good to have that kind of notes page, all of that on. So, I mean, I completely relate to that. And I think it's a very good idea to always have something handy.
Yeah. I think also I spoke about this recently with the writer, actually, that the brain is a muscle.
Yeah.
And we have to work it. We have to train it. And so if we're writing stuff that no one ever sees, it doesn't matter because we're training the brain for the stuff that everyone does see.
Yeah.
So when you write the fan fiction Doctor Who because you've got an idea, it doesn't matter that no one's going to watch that or see it, or it's not going to get made by the BBC, because in 10 years from now, you're going to get that opportunity where you are with the BBC doing Doctor Who. Yeah. And if you hadn't had all that practice, you won't have anything to give at that moment. Yeah. So yeah, I'd very much say that for a writer, that's a good idea to just. It doesn't matter that you can't read it back, that you don't do anything with 90% of it. Yeah. You're training the brain. You're training that muscle to work.
I mean, I'm a sucker for. I don't know why, but a lot of my ideas come in the shower.
Yeah.
I can't explain why.
No.
I'll be in the shower.
Yeah.
So many times I've stopped showering halfway through to go and get my phone from the other room.
I can tell you why it happens in the shower. Because you're not forcing anything.
Well, yeah, this is true. Yeah.
Yeah, you're letting your brain be free.
Yeah.
You're letting your mind wander.
Yeah.
You're daydreaming. Yeah, which we're told not to do at school. I was, I was a brilliant daydreamer at school. I was I would have, if there was a class on daydreaming, I would have got straight A's. Like I would have been the top.
Yeah.
But I was told it was a bad thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop looking out the window, Martin. Put your head down. Write a maths equation.
Yeah.
None of that worked for me, but daydreaming did work for me. And daydreaming is so important. Yeah. Daydream is where our mind puts things together. It figures out the answers. It creates stories that need telling. And so I'm always saying that to my kids, actually. Don't stop daydreaming. Yeah. Be a daydreamer. Yeah. Because I know that that's something that was really bad for me coming out of school.
I mean, that's the same with me. I mean, I daydreamed all the time in school. And I have my horrible GCSE to show for that. But I used to literally, because I used to write in my spare time. Even back then, during year 11, I was writing I think it's like a 42,000 word novel. I've never done anything with it, but it sat in my computer. But I was writing it during school, and I used to on purposely do things and say things to get myself into isolation, because then I can go on a computer. I get given the work to do. And if anyone from my school sees this, I'm very sorry. But I would just, on the computer, I'd scrap off the work I had to do, and I would just write the story that I wanted to write. And I couldn't get my head around it. And that's my issue. I don't think I was ever a naughty kid. I was never academic. And I could never wrap my head. And I replaced that with being the class clown a lot of the time. Even when into sixth form, I did the same thing. I replaced academic learning with, I made everything a laugh and a joke, and I kind of made that my personality, and that I can't do anything seriously. I've got to make it a laugh and a joke, because it was happier that way. I felt, I started off school, I was pretty unhappy, I had no friends. Then I learned how to be somewhat funny, and I think it's just a happier world to live in. So I think daydreaming as well helps with kind of being happy, I think, in general, because you get to live in that kind of fantasy world and thinking about what you want to say and do, and you never get to maybe do any of it, but it's nice to think about it, which I think is always quite nice.
Because this system of school that we've currently got in Western society, whilst there are fantastic teachers within that, the system is trying to train every individual human being the same way. Yeah. And we're not like that. Yeah. We are all in what is with my words today? It's because of that 16
You had a long podcast.
It's because of that 16-hour marathon. I can't talk at all. But we're all individuals. We're all unique. And we need to be grown that way. We need to be we need to be trained that way. We don't need to be trained to be all one thing.
Yeah.
You know, it clearly isn't working for us, and it clearly isn't working for the daydreamers and the creatives. And so I'd like to see that change as AI takes over the schools.
I'm personally very against that school, especially the government, makes schools. They don't really want to teach you the creative arts. They don't have the desire.
Well, they're taking it away.
Yeah, they were doing that when I was at school. Yeah,
10 years ago, they it would be in the curriculum to go and visit a theatre show.
Yeah,
once at secondary school.
Yeah,
once to go to visit the theatre. They don't do that at all now.
No, not at all. Yeah,
you know, that was one of the most important moments of my life. That changed my life that day. Going to see a show.
Yeah, and we had drama like trips. Most of them were outside of school time, so it was school time, and then afterwards we'd go on the trip and we'd see a play or whatever, and that was fun. But yeah, you're right. There's not as much, if any, anymore school trips about the creative arts. I mean, the closest we got to that would be in an English lesson. We got the day out of school to go and watch a load of poems being read, and I guess that's somewhat in the same route. But essentially, we are just sat there listening to the poems that we're reading at school. So it's essentially like we're still in school anyway. But they kind of masked it like it was going to be a creative sort of thing. And they always tried to diminish the creative arts. I mean, it's even as simple as they're at the bottom of the GCSE list. So when I got my list of GCSEs, drama and media were at the bottom. And ironically, I failed both. But yeah, but I think they've always got something against the creative. And there's obviously
what I think they've got against it is it creates critical thinkers.
Yes, yeah.
It creates daydreamers. Yeah. It creates people that change the world.
Yeah,
and the ones in power don't want new people coming up, ruining their agenda. Yeah. So of course they're going to train us in just maths and English and science. Yeah. Because that suits them. Yeah. Then we can just all be factory workers.
Yeah. Yeah, sat in the office all day.
Yeah. Then we can just churn, make the system work for them.
Yeah.
But no, we need to change that to make the system work for all of us.
I agree.
So yeah, this podcast is changing the world now.
We are, I hope so. That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be really cool, wouldn't it?
It'd be pretty cool, yeah. Changing the world till AI comes along and destroys it all.
Yeah, well, let's not think about that part yet. We'll get through the first part. Yeah.
Yeah, but then maybe if we're in the right place, that when AI comes along and is at the right time to be this new life form, maybe if we're in the right place, AI will be also in the right starting position. Yeah. Like that's the problem is if it came along now.
Yes.
If AI is properly birthed now and created now, we haven't been told that it has, but if it had, the world is pretty messed up now. Yeah. There's a lot of things not working, so therefore AI is not going to work for us, is it?
Yeah. And if you get the whole kind of science fiction side of things where the AI is built to help and save the world, and it's very true, when the AI looks into why the world needs saving, it's because of us.
Yes.
So I think that's always the dangerous point of view that I look at, and I think, well, if AI does come to life, we are screwed, royally screwed. Because
is it us or what I'm trying to get at with this? This conversation we're having now is it us or is it the system?
Well, yeah, but who controls the system?
Yes. Well, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is.
You kind of go backwards and forwards with it quite a lot.
Yeah.
But let's get back onto you a little bit then. So we know where you're going. You want to be a writer.
Yes. Yeah.
Did that start with fandom then? Did that really just start with Doctor Who? Because you've made a couple of fan films, haven't you?
I had in the past. I've made a couple of fan stuff that I've kind of scrapped from social media now to try and make myself look a bit more serious. But
why did you take that out?
Well, there was a lot. I did it. So I had before I went to uni, I made a series of 10 films and then also a short series based on DC characters, and I played a couple of characters in that. And it was a sort of
Son of the Flash.
Yes, it was.
So you can find it.
How did you find that? No, I thought I'd go into all that.
No, he's like no.
My friend who acted in that is turning in his. So I took all of that off because they were my startup things. What I posted out there, got them all out, and then rushed it all along, and then tried making more things. I shouldn't have put them anywhere. It's my biggest issue. I should have kept them for myself. But I had a bit of a weird thing.
Why?
I love the idea of people seeing them, and I think I put them out there not for me. I did it for other people, and the mindset I'm in now is I make stuff for me. If I want to put something out there, I put it out there for me, and it's so I can show other people, not because I want to get 300 views and I want to be. But back then I was very view minded. I mean,
But that's the culture that we're in, isn't it?
Yeah, and I had to break free of that. My first film that I ever made, Subconscious, and that got 2,000 views. I remember when it hit 1,000, I did like dances around my house. Mum's trying to watch TV, and I'm dancing in front of the TV, going 1,000 views. And then at that point she wished she would have put me up for adoption. But I mean, but I had to break free of that mindset because then I became really dumbed down on it. Because when my next film only got 200 views, then I'm like, oh, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And I beat myself up so much about it, but I didn't learn anything. I never learned when I was doing them.
No.
So I think I went to uni, I started making some serious films that didn't have me in front of the camera, because I was the actor and the main actor in all of them films, the 10 films at the start. Went to uni, I started getting actresses and actors in. I was behind the camera. So I let go of my old films, kind of took them off social media. I don't know where they are now. I think they're probably on IMDb now. I'm thinking about it. But that was it was quite nice to look. I look back on them sometimes. I think, oh, this is where I come from, sort of thing. But it's nice to kind of move on in a serious fashion, because now when I make something and post it, I'm doing it because I want to, not because I think there are people out there that want a second part of something. They don't. It's just that I got it in my head that I had to, and that kind of stems from. When I was a kid, I had a YouTube channel that I used to upload God knows what to all the time. And I was 13, 14, and I'd set myself a schedule on what to record and when to upload it by. No one knew that schedule. No one had to know that schedule. Each video got 35 or so views from the people in school. And it was my dad that said to me, so he said, who are you doing this deadline for? Like who's actually like waiting for the videos, not in a harsh way, but I thought, oh, there are people that watch them. There was not people that watched them.
No.
And that kind of led into the films, and I kind of had to make the next. I did the Subconscious films. I did 3 of them. There were part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 3 was an hour long, basically a feature length film. And so when people go, oh, you should make a feature film, I have. And I made that in a month, feature film in a month, and it's god awful. But that was right before I went to uni. I was leaving for uni, I think, mid-September, and I started it in August, and I was literally filming a few days before I went to uni. And again, it was my mum and dad said to me, they said, what's the rush? Come back and finish it after uni. And I thought, no, I have to get it done now. Uni helped change my mindset on all of that. Definitely helped me change my mindset, because I realised, as I said before now, however many times, I learned to do what was right for me, not what I thought the other people that didn't exist, that were in my head, wanted to see. And that definitely helped.
That's a really powerful realisation.
Yeah.
That, there's a music producer, and I see him as one of my creative gurus, actually. Rick Rubin, have you heard of him?
No.
He produced the Beastie Boys. He's produced a lot of music, especially over the sort of like 80s and 90s.
Right.
But check out his podcast.
Yeah.
Check out his book, The Creative Act. And one of his strong messages is the audience comes last.
Yep.
You do it for the audience, you've lost straight away.
Yep.
There is no moving forward.
Yep.
You do it for yourself, the audience will find you.
Yeah.
The audience will come along for a journey. They'll want to be part of this thing that you're creating. But you do it for them.
Yeah.
No one's interested.
Definitely.
It doesn't move forward ever.
Yeah.
No one's ever seen that work.
Yeah.
And to realise that at a young age at this point in your career, I think is gonna see you very well.
Yeah.
And I think that people are going to enjoy your art. They're going to enjoy the things that you want. The right audiences are going to find your work through it being the movies you want to see.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Because you were once an audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
You was once that person that liked Doctor Who, that you was once that person that liked The Flash.
Yeah.
And now when them opportunities come for you to make those things,
Yeah.
you're going to be able to make that in the best way.
Yeah.
For doing it through you as a true fan of that kind of storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, you're very right. I mean, I definitely started off as a fan. As you said a little while ago, I started off, especially with writing. The story I told you about earlier in my grand's living room, the first story I ever wrote was a crossover between, I think it was, I was like 6 or 7. It was a crossover between like Doctor Who and Ben 10 and loads of other people that I loved as a kid. And I was like, I'd love to see these people interact.
And why can't they?
So I wrote it. I wrote it myself. And I look back now and I think at the time I was like, yeah, this is cool. And I put it in, Gran always had like a keep safe sort of thing. So I put it in that box and thought nothing of it sort of thing. I look back now and I it's something quite special about it because I wanted to see that story. So I wrote it. I didn't just wait for the BBC or whoever to make that story. I wrote it because I wanted to see it and I wanted to imagine what it'd be like. And I couldn't just think about it. So I had to write it all down. And I think that's how I got back into it. I then moved away from writing a bit, then wrote the novel that I wrote, and then moved away from that a little bit, and then got my heart broken. So I wrote my first script, which was subconscious.
Of course.
Yeah, because what else sparks a good story?
Yep. That's a great thing to do with your broken heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All day at computer going. So I made that, and that was my first script I'd written since I was 7 or 8. So I 7 or 8 wrote that because that story I wrote was in script form. So it was Doctor Says This, Spencer, whatever. Then I wrote only stories in like narrative kind of novel ways. Then 10 years later, I wrote my first proper script. And that's always cool to look back on in that I took a weird leap between script and story to then back to script.
Yeah.
No intention of ever making that into a film, just I wanted to write a script because I thought it'd be cool. And I remember showing my drama teachers and they loved it. And I'm pretty sure it was one of my drama teachers said, why don't you make it into a film? And I said, no, I can't possibly do that. And I've not got a camera or anything. I use my phone. I set it up. And I was the main actor. My 2 best friends were kind of the other actors in it. And as a 3 of us, we made this 15-minute film. And again, it's not anywhere to be found now, apart from IMDb, I think. But it's so special looking back on that experience because that's how it all kind of, over the course of however many years, that's how it started. Yeah. I think my mum always tells me off because I'm quite harsh on myself about my old films. And mum said, "Oh, I love them," and I go, "You're supposed to. That's your job." And I think she always says that she wishes I could see it in that sort of way, and that's how I started. So I have kind of more recently been making new stuff. Get to look back and go, "Wow, that's how I started," but I'm here now.
Oh, and this goes back to the whole training the muscle thing.
Yeah.
All this stuff that you've worked on before that no one necessarily is going to see, that was all part of you training this creative mind, that you've got this storytelling mind that you've got. And, there is a special place in fan fiction. And it's strange. This is something that's strange that's happening for me. Fan fiction seems to be in the conversation of a few of my podcast episodes recently. So maybe that's this season is all about fan fiction. Or something strange is going on because I'm talking to a lot of people that have got so much from fan fiction. And just yesterday, I was talking to a voiceover artist who, before COVID, she was trying to be an actor. Yeah. But then during COVID, the only thing that was available to her was seeking voiceover work. Yeah. And she looked at some, being a Doctor Who fan herself, she came across some Doctor Who audio stories, fan stories, and she started to get involved with that. And that's actually led on to professional voiceover work for her now through getting involved in fandom. And she's known in the Doctor Who community as well. So even though she's not officially Doctor Who, the fandom has become so big that she's seen as an artist in that space.
I think that's the beautiful thing about fan stuff is that notoriously the fans almost always seem to know better. And obviously no offense to the writers of whatever, but especially with Marvel, you read fan theories about what could happen in the next Avengers film. You think, wow, that's amazing. And then you think, they're not going to do that. No. They are not going to do that. And I think when a fan loves and cares so deeply for something, such a raw kind of intimate passion with a sense of media, they understand that story inside out. They understand the life of Doctor Who, and they know how to write an intricate kind of detailed story that would perfectly sum up the characters, but also give a sense of, you got that threat and the emotion, and you write that story. And that's kind of what I always, as a kid, wanted to do. I wanted to write the stories that I never got to see. Like, a bit niche, but like, you never got to see Matt Smith's Doctor meet the Master. I wrote that story because I wanted to see it. It never happened. It still hasn't happened. But I was so dead set on knowing or wanting to understand how they'd react. I came up with it in my own head, and I designed how it would happen. And
what do you think stops us from sometimes writing and exploring these stories then? Is it just the fact that the world, going back to the audience thing, is it the fact that the world won't see it?
Yeah, a lot of the time. Yeah.
You know,
I've got through a lot of things before, halfway through, and gone, I'm never gonna make this. So I stopped writing it. I could finish writing it and have a finished script and go, oh, I've done this script. But I stop writing it sometimes because I think I'm never gonna make it. Never going to make it. And I was writing a feature film recently, a couple months ago, and I'm halfway through, and I thought, I'm not making a feature film anytime soon. And it was this intricate kind of sci-fi film set in an abandoned IKEA in the future, and that's how it starts. And I've written this whole kind of opening kind of chapter scene. I thought, oh, that's so cool. I love it. I'm never getting an abandoned IKEA. It's never happening.
Why not?
So I've got to cause an IKEA to be banned in the first place. But I thought I stopped, and I would love to. I need to go back to it because I love the story.
Yeah.
It's a film based off of the novel I wrote as a kid, and I get in my own head a lot of the time. I always get in my own head, and I self-doubt, I self-criticize, I self-analyze, and it always gets me down to a point of I have to stop what I'm doing and I move on to something new, because I become obsessed with the idea that what I'm writing isn't good enough. Even though I know deep down it could be really good. When that voice in your head kind of gets in and goes, stop writing it, stop it, what you doing.
Oh, I know that voice. I had that voice the other day when I was doing my world record podcast. Yeah. In the morning I was in the shower actually, and I went, I don't think I can do this today. Yeah. And then that voice changed into, I can't do this today. Yeah. I am going to be a massive failure today. So I know that voice is there, and you have to keep working on that other voice that tells that one to shut up. Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm going to do this. Yeah. And in yesterday's conversation, actually, it came up that maybe I sort of summarised that maybe it comes from like confidence that pushes you forward, but actually no, it's quite brave. Yeah. It's bravery, I think, that pushes you forward. That you do these things anyway. Yeah. Even though you might fail, even though it might be no good, even though that no one might see it. Write it anyway. Yeah. Make that film anyway. Yeah. And just learn from it. If it is no good, so how bad? So what? Yeah. You know, like with me the other day with the podcast world record, if I did fail it, so what? Yeah. I tried.
Still tried, yeah, exactly.
Still gave it a go. Yeah. Still learnt something for the next time. Yeah. So what's next for you at the moment then?
Well, I want to do that challenge.
The challenge, yes.
5 films in 5 weeks. That's what I want to do.
That's nice. That's a really good thing to do for you to do. That you've recognised that having that challenge there helps you. Yeah. And to create it yourself. Brilliant.
Well, I'm hoping no one's done it before. I'm hoping I've come up with that idea, because then it's a bit cooler, isn't it? But
it's a unique thing.
And
nice to have.
Aside that, it's very much the retail job. It's quite good fun, I guess. I'm getting the money. Yeah, we need the money. Because I want to use that for film. Good. That's what I want. I want to make another proper short film. I'm in the middle of writing like a 5-minute film now, where I know it's a good idea because I came up with this idea. I was listening to a song and I thought of this whole idea. And I thought of the ending and I teared up my own thought, which is quite self-absorbed, actually. No. Now I'm saying that out loud. But
being connected to the story in that way with emotion, again, takes us to what the audience are going to want that. Yeah. If it doesn't affect you in that way, you're not connected. They're not going to be connected.
No, definitely, yeah.
So lean into that. Yeah. Lean into that. If it makes you feel emotional, you found something there. You found something special. Yeah. No, you need that. Don't ever shy away from that.
Well, I'm currently halfway through that script because I'm stuck because there's a line that the character needs to say. Even though I know everything that happens afterwards, I've planned every beat afterwards. There's a line a character needs to say, And at the minute, after a week of thinking, I haven't got that one line, and I'm at a block. I could just press enter, move past that line, write the rest, come back to that line. But I'm so dead set on getting that line, I've left it alone for a little while. But I think it's also important to leave things alone for a little while, because if you push yourself to break through a barrier, you hurt yourself in the process. Wait for a bit. Not always, but wait for it. But I like to wait for a bit, work out how to climb the barrier, not break through. And I always go over the other side a bit more kind of carefully and a bit less hurt.
Go back to that daydreaming.
Yeah.
Don't force it. Go back to the shower.
Yeah.
You know, I know. So I've heard of some writers that have a notepad and pen in the shower.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't do that. Wet paper.
You can get special shower paper and pen.
That's all right.
It's like you
cool.
go on Amazon, you can get a shower paper and pen.
That's quite
and
cool.
it's for writers and people that come up with ideas. But yeah, just go back to that place of not forcing it when you can't find that line. And you know it yourself. You said it there. It will come through.
It does come eventually.
It comes eventually. Yeah. You can't force the moment. You can't force the time. Everything will come at the right time, I believe. And yeah, you just have to let go.
I'm a big firm believer, and my mum taught me this, but I'm a big firm believer in everything happens for a reason. So if I'm at a block, I'm supposed to be at a block because I've got time for other stuff.
100%.
I've gone to that event yesterday, I've come today, and I've got time to kind of do other stuff in my life. I haven't got to push myself past the point of it affects me mentally. Because then if I push myself past, I might not like what I came up with. So I'm taking a breather, taking a break. I'll go back to it. Next time I open that script, I might get it like that. That's happened before. I'll go, oh, it's that. That's what he says. Yeah. And once I know, I know. And if I don't know, then I leave it alone for a little while. And I hope I go back to it because I really like it. And at least I need to write the ending because it's a really good ending. But no, I'm a big firm believer in everything happens for a reason.
That's great. So what do you need to make this challenge happen then? Do you need anything? Have you all set? Is there anything you're looking for?
It's essentially the five film challenge.
The 5 film challenge,
It's essentially, I need the motivation to start it. It's my birthday next month, so I'm going to be quite, again, self-absorbed and go, I don't want to do it over my birthday month because then I'll be making a
birthday
film.
month? You need a birthday month?
I need a month. I just meant that...
You need to celebrate for a whole... How old are you going to be?
23.
23. I need a birthday month. You can't just do one day. No, you need a month.
Cool.
So what do you do in that month? Do you go out drinking every night and you plan adventures?
Every single day I've got to be absolutely
do you know what?
wasted.
I'm laughing. I know someone that had a birthday year.
No, I did.
He reached 50 and he was like, this is my birthday year. And like literally planned like holidays throughout the year and adventures. And I'm like, I kind of get it. You're kind of like trying to tick off some boxes and stuff. But like, there are other things in life other than your birthday. Like there are other things going on. Yeah. Like to be honest, no one else cares.
Yeah, it can't be anyone else's birthday that year because it's his birthday.
Exactly. Yeah. That is exactly what it was like.
Yeah.
So you can have a birthday month.
What I meant by that is because I want it to be a month-long challenge.
Right. Okay.
So I want to do it consecutively.
You don't.
If I take a break for my birthday, then which I inevitably will because I'm a lazy person. But if I take a break, then I won't go back to it.
Right.
So I'm thinking March. I'll start at the start of March, Monday. 5 briefs, 5 challenges. I want different people from different kind of backgrounds to kind of set it. So the first brief, I like to do my parents setting me a challenge because they're my parents. They've watched everything I've done, so it'd be interesting to hear their kind of idea. I've got ideas for like an old maybe uni lecturer. Give me an idea, give me a brief because that's cool. He used to teach me, and that'd be cool hearing that. An idea of some of my friends doing it or people that aren't in film. So I've got friends that have nothing to do with film whatsoever. I like the idea of them setting me a challenge because that's different, that's unique, and then kind of working my way through. The idea behind it is I'm gonna record on my phone like a vlog style thing of each week and each journey, because I think
almost like a behind the scenes,
kind of like a documentary style thing, in that I will capture my thoughts and feelings of each kind of section of it.
Nice.
So if the edit goes wrong and the film never goes anywhere, I'll have captured the process of making it to prove to myself, A, I've made it, but B, I can explain in a video what went wrong. Whether or not that documentary video goes anywhere, I can then watch it back and go, right, that's what I did wrong last time. Yeah. That's what I'll fix this time. And that would be quite cool. And then I eventually want the whole 5 weeks in one video, and I can kind of go through each process of how I did each thing, watch me make 5 films back.
Sounds epic. This sounds great. Well, you can use your birthday month for, I guess, a little bit of prep, can't you?
Yes, yeah.
You know, because this 5-month challenge is going to need preparation involved.
Yes.
And so you can be lining everything. That's perfectly fine. Yeah.
I'm really hoping it kind of breaks me out of that kind of ice, because I want to be told on the Monday morning, this is your brief, this is your genre, this is the challenge. Go. Then I can't know beforehand. So I'll then write it, hopefully within a day or two. Then I've got to plan it. So I want that to break me out of the whole I'm not writing phase. Because if I have to write, I'm doing it for the challenge. I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it for a challenge for me. But that will give me that extra burst of motivation, like doing the 30-second films for Matchbox, in that I had no motivation. Then a deadline came around. And I didn't need to do it. But because it was a deadline, because I wanted to do a challenge, it made me conform to the deadline. I was doing it to the right pace, the right time, make sure I had enough time left over, sort of thing. And that's what I want to set for myself in March, I hope, in that I can do those 5 films. At the end, I'll hopefully go, oh, cool, 5 films. I'm never making a film again.
But whatever happens from that, you're going to learn a lot.
Yes, exactly.
Aren't you? So that's great. It's one of the most exciting things I've heard this year so far that someone's doing. So
cool, nice.
Well done. I look forward to watching the journey. I hope you share some on social media.
I'll have to come back
well.
and then.
Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's have this is like the pre-talk. Of how you feel beforehand. You're smiling, you're happy, you're all excited. Let's see how it looks like in 5 months.
I'm crying still, shaking. I still got the shakes. I couldn't do it, Martin. I couldn't do it. But
I want to see it, Harry. Let's make that happen.
I'll do my best. No pressure.
No pressure at all. But I believe you can do it. From everything we've spoken about today, I have complete faith in this journey that you've got ahead of you, and I'm excited to see it and watch it. So well done, Harry. And I feel like we should wrap this conversation up here, so we know a point that we're going to come back to this in the future. If anyone wants to find out more about you, they want to employ you to write a Doctor Who for them. Where do we find you?
So I'm on Instagram primarily. My Instagram handle is Larter Films, and then I'm on Facebook and Twitter, X, LinkedIn, Harry Larter. I guess if I'm going to be employed. Sorry, Disney, in case. I tend to go under my own name, so Harry Larter most places.
Can we find you any of your films on YouTube?
All the ones I've released are on YouTube, so I've got 3 or 4 years worth of films on Larter Films. So same as Instagram. If you go on Instagram, there's a link tree in the description and in bio. Click that, all of my links come up. Excellent. And then YouTube, I think, is at the top. I've got a website on there as well for contact information and stuff.
Great. But
YouTube will be all of the lovely films.
Excellent. We'll have to check some of them out.
Good.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you for sharing today. And if anyone was watching or listening into this conversation, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks again. Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.